So, yeah, what I want to do, a lot of you experienced Atmos, a lot of you have heard Atmos. So, I'm going to give you a brief update, a brief overview of the technology, but really I want to make this an update of where we've progressed in the last 12 months and where sort of we see Dolby Atmos heading. So, it's an old adage for the industry, content is king. Content defines everything we do in this business. It's our sort of lifeblood. And from a technology perspective, we're aware that a technology can live and die by content. And it's not just any content, it's got to be good content, it's got to be the right content, and it's got to be delivered in the right way. So, let's have a little overview. You've heard these terms before: beds, objects, equal Dolby Atmos. So Dolby Atmos is the only object-based audio system out in the market today. We came to market almost 2 years ago with beta installations, with the launch of it in CinemaCon in 2011. Is that right, sir?
Yep.
Yeah. And then we actually launched the product a year later, and here we are today. So what is it? So we have these object-based sound, and if you were at yesterday's demonstrations, you obviously went into more detail, but I'm just going to keep it brief. So we have beds. Beds are defined into channels. We have objects. Objects are not defined into channels. Objects are mono sound elements that have 3D metadata associated with them. And we're able to sort of put them into the room, spin them around the room, and they're not defined by any channel. They're defined by the spatial layout of the room itself. So what are we trying to do with Dolby Atmos? Well, we knew that it was very important to maintain a pipeline right from content creation through to playback. So in that pipeline, you start with content creators. We were in discussion with the major studios for sort of a long time before we actually came to market. We spoke to them. We wanted to know how they best thought we could move forward with a change from the 5.1, 7.1 that we've seen to date. And we came about with Dolby Atmos. So we knew that they were important. We knew that we needed to give them the tools. We knew that once we had those tools, we wanted to go to market with them. We wanted to deliver them into the cinema through a standard distribution channel. And we also wanted to support what was out there in the field already. The 5.1, 7.1 screens that were there. It's clear that that is still today. The majority screens play back in 5.1 or 7.1. But we wanted to support them while also supporting these new ventures in Dolby Atmos. And scalable playback. Scalable playback means with object-based, we can go from a small auditorium of just 100 people. We have a screening room in London that holds 68 people, and it's Dolby Atmos equipped. It has a certain number of loudspeakers. They are not defined. It's purely defined by the size of the room, not the number of channels that you need to put into the room. As we go larger into a room like this, it scales up. Of course, it's a bigger room. You need more loudspeakers down the side. You need more overhead, and you need bigger performance loudspeakers. That's always going to be the case, whether it's 5.1 or Atmos. So the scalable playback of Dolby Atmos is very important. As I said, it sort of solves the problem of having to squeeze an ever-increasing number of channels into a room. So for content creators, we've given tools and the possibility to reach out to the audience, reach out into the auditorium, come off the screen and really talk to the audience. For moviegoers, it's that immersive experience. It's that suspension of disbelief that we talk about so much. And for exhibitors, it's about a differentiator, creating the best possible experience for your customers and allowing them to experience the latest technology. So we've got a great example. This room is obviously equipped with Dolby Atmos, which is fantastic. The guys here have done amazing work over the last couple of weeks to get this installed. So how does the layout work for us with Dolby Atmos? As you can see, there's the option of either 3 or 5 screen channels, depending on your size of your screen. And where you see the red, this is where you find a standard 5.1 layout. So we've also extended further down on the 2 sides towards the screen, and we've created these 2 overhead arrays as well. So a stereo overhead array. And we, you know, from the left extra and the right extra speaker, we pull the parallels over. And as you can see, it works in almost like a grid system. So anything from the screen can pull over to the back, anything from the sides can pull over these ways. So you really have, you know, a very, very high resolution, sort of pull things into the room and pan across, and it seems seamlessly smooth. When we talk about beds, this is what we refer to. We've changed from a 5.1 and 7.1 channel bed to a 9.1 channel bed. So we use stereo overheads to make your extra channels up to 9.1. You know, there's huge value in channel-based mixing when you have ambient effects, wind noise, sand noise, anything like crowd noise. And then the ability of Dolby Atmos to layer on top of that the object-based audio is very powerful. So this is what you find in a standard 5.1 room. You would have your side surround channels. They would all be ganged together, and if you put a single signal down to that left-hand side of the room, it would play out all those loudspeakers. We were able to maintain that sort of channel-based element and also do that and use the array for the ambient effects. But what we can then do is split them up. So every speaker in this room is individually amplified, individually signaled. So we're able to address each individually and put a sound in. And in addition, we've extended the loudspeakers down to the screen. In extending down to the screen, we're able to pull things off the screen far easier. So we're going to demonstrate this with an audio-only clip, which you guys may have heard called Troubadour, but it's always nice to hear it in the new Atmos. It renders that content live. So the content is stored in these beds and objects, and they're there until you press play, and then that is rendered every single time. So if the room changed for whatever reason, it would know that, and it would render it differently that time. And what that allows you to do is, it gives a huge amount of protection to the cinema. You can actually even account for any failures or damages that happen in the room. If, for example, this second loudspeaker in starts to have an issue, you can go into the Dolby software, you can say, there's an issue with this loudspeaker, it's not working, and we don't want it to distract, cause all noises that are not meant to be there. So we can drop it out of the array. And what the CP850 does is it compensates for it. And it does that by spreading the power to adjacent loudspeakers and making sure that the momentum of any object is maintained. So, key system benefits. We can put sound above you. It's a much richer, fuller, higher bandwidth audio that we bring. The discrete, individually addressable loudspeakers. And it's what we used to refer to as an adaptive audio format. It's scalable between all these different rooms. So, now I've sort of overviewed the technology again. I just want to talk about where we are now and where we are going forward, and the success that we've had in the last 12 months. So 85 plus movies, 300 plus screens either committed or built. 2 Oscar-winning films, although that was probably nothing to do with us, more to do with the content, but it's always good to have that accolade. 30 countries worldwide. So every new country that comes online, we're aware that that involves an element of local content support. So here in Norway, for applicable films, for children's films, they will get a dubbed version. For adult films, you tend to run a subtitled version. And this support is all there for Dolby Atmos. We want to make sure that you're getting the most content that you can in your theatre. So those 85 films, I think approximately 50 of them were Hollywood titles. The rest of them were regional titles, which we'll go on to discuss a little bit later on. 40 plus mixed studios. So this is actual mixed facilities. This isn't QC rooms, is that right? Yeah. So on top of this, we have, I think, 6 QC rooms with Warner Brothers in Europe. We have Deluxe, Technicolor, all doing their QCing their stuff. On top of that, we have 40 installations worldwide that can mix Dolby Atmos content. So we're lucky enough to have support from 7 majors. As I say, content is king, and that's very important to us that we have backing at the studios. And 17 plus versions. This sort of goes to the countrywide. A lot of those countries, you know, UK, US, Australia will take OV versions, so we don't have to version every single film. But there are 17 plus versions for every single title that we release. So those 85 titles, 17 plus versions. So as I said, the major studios supporting Atmos. You know, we have great support from the likes of Warner Brothers. Fox have released a great slate coming into 2014. Walt Disney have been very supportive. Obviously, Walt Disney now includes the Pixar brand and also includes Lucasfilm. So we're very excited about potential upcoming films from these guys. So when I stood and I spoke to you this time last year, we could talk about these titles. These are the 4 films. We had 5. We had a film called Chasing Mavericks, which was a US only release initially. These are the titles we had. In all honesty, in 6 months, we were pretty proud of where we got. We were proud of the caliber of the titles, caliber of the directors behind the technology. I mean, Hobbit, for example, you know, they were already releasing with a new technology, high frame rate, and for them to adopt the Dolby Atmos format was a real bonus for us. So we were 4 titles, 4 great films, and where did we go from there? Well, it really just went exponential. So this was in the following 5 months. And this isn't everything, this is just a shaving of the top. This is the Hollywood titles that we're seeing. So Iron Man 3 was a standout film, was a great mix. Oblivion was fantastic. That was the very first native Dolby Atmos mix. So the Dolby Atmos was mixed first as the main sound version, and they used our mixdown technology. And the 7.1 soundtrack that you would have heard, if you didn't hear in Atmos, was actually a render down from the Dolby Atmos soundtrack. So that was the confidence that they had in our tools and our the support we have in the studio environment. So what did we go on to? Again, you know, really big films. Man of Steel was a great mix. I never got much university. The Heat was the first comedy for us. That was great support from Fox Studios on that one. And yeah, I mean, what we'll show you shortly is a section of what I think is the best film of the year, if not several years, which is Gravity. Glenn Fremantle, who is the sound editor, who worked on 8-time Oscar winner, Slumdog Millionaire. He's based in the UK, works at Pinewood Studios, and the studio team within Dolby approached them, and they said, look, we're doing this new sound technology. Do you think you've got anything that would be suitable for it? And luckily, that was when we were starting work on Gravity. So what do we move forward into? Well, this is November onwards, so I think you're either opening or opening with Thor. Hunger Games premieres in Los Angeles next week, is that right? Yeah, so that premieres in Dolby Atmos. And we're seeing a great slate, you know, again, great support from Fox on the latest Planet of the Apes, Disney for Frozen, 300, Rio 2, another 20th Century Fox film. So, and of course, the second Hobbit movie opening here on the 11th, I believe.